Good morning, Sir Jeff, and good morning, everyone. So let me read first our objective before I going to discuss our topic. No? In our objectives, by the end of this lesson, you can define a research problem and explain its importance in the study. Distinguish between a research problem and the other parts of the research process. Identify criteria for deciding whether a problem can and should be researched. Describe how quantitative and qualitative research problems differ. Learn the 5 elements and writing a statement problem section. Lastly, identify the strategy useful in writing statement of problem solving. So, what is research problem and why it important? Research problems are the educational issues, controversies, or the concern that guide the need for conducting a study. In a research report, the investigator introduced this problem in the opening paragraphs of the study in section they call statement of problem. It may consist a single sentence or several sentences. It is important because it helps us to identify the relevance and importance of the research study. It showed why the topic should be investigated and what is the benefits it could be potentially provided. How does the research problem differ from the other parts of the research? To be understand research problem, you may distinguish them from other parts research process. The research problem is distinct from the topic of the study. The purpose, intent of the study, the specific research, also the the research problem needs to stand on its own and be recognized at this step because it represents the problem addressed in the story. Addressed in the study. In the brief definition that follow, a research topic is a broad subject matter addressed by the study. For example, Maria seek to study weapon to possession by student in school. Next is a research problem. Is a general education issue, concern, or controversy addressed in the research that narrows the topic. For example, again, we that Maria addresses the escalating violence in school due in part to students possessing weapons. And the purpose is the major intent of the subject of the study used to address the problem. For example, again, Maria might state the purpose of her study. Young purpose is the purpose of my study will be identify factors that influence the extent to which students carry weapons in high schools. And the last is the research question. Narrow the purpose into the specific question that the researcher would like to answer address in the study. For example, you may ask about, do peers influence students to carry a weapons? But we have also mga common error stating research problem as the purpose of the study. We have tinatawag nila na POUR model. POUR model. This means that the researcher intends to identify the research problem but instead present it's a purpose statement. For the example, the purpose of the study is to examine the educational woman in the third world countries.
Ever is stating research problems is the purpose of the study, or ask the research question. So these following examples show how you might reshape a purpose or a research question as a research problem. So the first example is it is a poor model, or it is poorly constructed. So the research intends to identify the research problem but instead presents it as a purpose statement. So the purpose of the study is to examine the education of women in third world countries. So it is just like it's directly stated and so simple. While the improved one, or the improved model, is a revision with as a research problem. So women in third world countries are restricted from attending universities and colleges because of the culturally oriented patriarchal norms of their societies. So another example is it is the first one is poorly constructed. A researcher intends to write about the research problem but instead identifies the research question. So the research question in the study is what factors influence homesickness in college students, while the improved one is homesickness is a major issue in college campuses today. When students get homesick, they leave school or start missing classes, leading to student attrition or poor achievement in classes during the first semester of college. Are some strategies for writing the statement of the problem section. So, writing the introduction or statement of the problem section as an opening passage in your research report sets the stage for readers to understand your project and appreciate the strong research orientation of your report. So here are some several writing strategies that can help you craft this section. So as you can see in the figure 2.4 on the screen, it is the flow of ideas in statement of the problem section. So the first one is the topic or the subject area. So example of this is parents' role in promoting access to college for underrepresented students. So it is an example of the topic. So the next part is the research problem. So it is a concern or issue or a problem itself. So examples for this is the need for better access for students of colors. So it is somewhat like racism. So the next one is justification for the problem or for the research problem. So evidence from the literature or practical experiences. So it is somehow like the review of related literature. Example of this is past literature that has documented poor attendance. So next one is deficiencies in the evidence that is missing. So we need to evaluate how parents can promote access, and the last part is relating the discussion to the audience. So audiences that will profit from the study. So these are your um, respondents and also the one that will be affected to your study. So examples are the parents can better access the role, counselors can better involve parents, and colleges can better work with parents. So other writing strategies is to use frequent reference to the literature throughout this introductory passage, multiple references, add a scholarly tone to your writing, and provide evidence from others rather than relying on your own personal opinion. So it is also recommended to cite, even it is only on the introductory passage, it is recommended to also cite some authors and their work so that your passage will be more interesting. And also you need to provide references from statistical trends to support the importance of studying the research problem. Of course, you need to have references that is timely and relevant to your study. So examples of this are how many teenagers smoke, how many individuals are HIV positive. So this form of evidence is especially popular in quantitative studies. And the last writing strategy is to use quotes from participants in a study or from notes obtained from observing participants to begin your statement to problem. Introduction. This approach is popular and frequently used in qualitative studies. And think aloud about writing a statement of the problem. It is some sort of opinion from someone who is also writing this a statement of the problem. So in you can read here the tips from the author.
Can you gain access to people insights? To research a problem, investigators need to gain information, to enter a site, and to involve a people at the location of the study. This access often requires multiple levels of approval from schools such as district administrator, principals, teachers, parents, and also the students. In addition, projects conducted by educational agencies receiving federal funds that need to have institutional review approval to ensure that rights of their participants is your ability to gain access to people insights can help you determine if you can research the issue. But you can find time, locate resources, and use your skills. Even if you gain access to people and the sites needed for your study, your ability research the problem also depends on time, resources, and your research skill. Meaning, time when time when planning a research study, it is important for investigator to consider the time needed for both data collection and data analysis. In general, qualitative studies tend to require more time compared to quantitative studies. This is because qualitative research involves collecting data through in-depth interviews, observation, or document analysis, which can be a lengthy process. Additionally, the analysis of qualitative data involves carefully examining the sentence and the words to identify themes and patterns. Also, we have air resources. Investigator requires various resources to including funds to conduct a research study. These funds are needed for equipment, participants, compensation, and tasks that transcribing interviews. It is important for the researcher to create a budget and seek advice from experienced researchers to ensure that the anticipated expenses are realistic. Proper planning and resource allocation are the crucial for the successful execution of research project. In skills, the skills of the researcher play a crucial role in determining the feasibility and success of a research study. Research needs to be a possess certain skills that are acquired through courses, training, and prior research experiences. And we have should the problem be researched? A positive answer to this question lies in whether your study will contribute to knowledge and practice. We have 5 ways to assess whether your research a problem. First, we have a study the problem if your study will fill a gap or void in existing literature. Number two, we have a study the problem if your study replicates a past study but examine the different participate and different research sites. Third, we have a study the problem if your study extend past research or examines the topic more thoroughly. Fourth is the study the problem if your studies give voice to people silenced and not heard or rejected on the society. The last one is the study the problem if your study informs practice.
The significance of a research study is determined by its contribution to knowledge and practice. As research serves to add existing information and inform educational practices. So there are 5 ways to assess whether you should research a problem. So the first one is to study the problem if your study will fill a gap or void in the existing literature. So if your study or your topic will be making a change to our existing literature. The second one is to study the problem if your study replicates a past study but examines different participants and different research sites. So um, the problem will may be the same, but as the time goes by, as our world is simultaneously moving and changing, the participants and the sites will be different this time, so it will be okay to conduct a study to it again. So the third one is study the problem if your study extends past research or examines the topic more thoroughly. The fourth one is study the problem if your study gives voice to people silenced, not heard, or rejected in society. So, you can conduct a study for the people who is not capable of voicing out their opinions and perspective, so that you can be the bridge of their voices. And the last one is if your study informs practice. Problem differ in quantitative and qualitative research. So here we can differentiate the research problem of qualitative research and quantitative research. So these two factors, explanation and exploration, provide a standard you can use to determine whether your research problem is better suited for either a quantitative or qualitative study. So here are some additional factors to consider. So, and under the quantitative research, the research problem requires you will use quantitative research if your research problem requires you to measure variables, assess the impact of these variables to an outcome, test theories or broad explanation, and apply results in a large number of people. While in the qualitative research, you will use qualitative research if your research problem requires you to um, learn about the views of individuals, assess a process over time, generate theories based on participants' perspectives, obtain detailed information about a few people or research sites.
So for the continuation of our discussions, my topics includes the examples of statement of the problem sections. So statement of the problem, or SOP, have 5 elements. So these are the topics: the research problem, the evidence justifying the research problem, the deficiencies in evidence, and the audience. So the topics are the one that describes the issues that is need of the study. So it's a little brief of your research titles in here. The second one is the research problem. So what problem is the research attempting to address? Having a problem statement allows the readers to quickly understand the purpose and the intent of the research or the study that you're going to conduct to rather. Then the third one is the evidence justifying the research problem. So in here, you're already citing some of those RRLs, that those evidences that there's some research studies already conducted and already stating the problems that you're addressing to. The fourth one is the deficiencies in evidence. A brief discussions that details the area of needs in relation to the problem, and the deficiencies or lack of evidence and the literature. So in here, you're already citing some of those evidences and comparing those evidences that you're conducting a study that will give more further informations and more survey or details that you can add into the survey while comparing those studies that were already conducted before. So these deficiencies and evidences. And the last one is the audiences. So in here, you're carefully crafted problem statements that will help you to connect with your audience or your readers, and will help your audience to see why your documents is important. In order to write a strong problem statement, you should consider the following questions. So what does my readers already know about my topic? You should put also some indications here that the audience are important also in your study that you're going to conduct. Since remember, you're going to conduct a survey. So it's important also to consider your audience or respondents in this area. Okay, so to continue, so as we already know, we have two ways of gathering data or survey. It is the qualitative, and the quantitative. So in here, we have statements of the problems introducing a quantitative study by Davis in 1997. So that was reported in a journal article. The study deals with the topics of tobacco used among high school students. So it is a quantitative kind of survey or gathering survey of the data, that asking questions and that referring to a student. So it's a wide range of group of the students at school. And Davis in 1997 did the survey and a quantitative kind of gathering survey or gathering data survey. So to continue, we're going to discuss the useful informations for producers of research. So first one, it's assess whether a problem can be and should be researched. So in here, in this area, assessing whether the problem should be and could be researched. There's a three criteria in here. So the first criteria, can the participants' sites be studied? So this is the question that involves in assessment of the problems that should be addressing, that if your study should be research in a way. So the first one, can the participants and sites be studied? The second one, can the problem be researched given the researcher's time, resources, and skills? The third one, will study of the issues contributes to the knowledge and practice? So those are criteria assessing the problem can and should be researched for the first useful information of producers of the research. The second useful information is identify in the right distinct research problem. The third one, make it separate from the topics, the purpose of the study, and the research question. The fourth one is the actual problem in the study may be hidden in the opening paragraph. So in here, it's all useful information also when you're making your paper. hide or your study, your problem of the study may be hidden in the opening paragraphs. The fifth one, useful information, is look for the issue or concern leading to the study. The sixth one, useful information, is ask yourself what educational problem is addressed by the study. And the last one is recognize that not all research problems should and can be researched. It is really useful in making or conducting a research study, since especially when making or deciding what title are you going to write or what study or problem that you're going to conduct, that you should recognize that not all research problem should and can be researched, but because maybe you can just decide to do a research study that not supposed to be research or not going to be gathered like in a survey or something. So you should realize and recognize that not all research problems that you are thinking with or you are having with in your mind should and can be researched. You should always careful with that, especially in making your research title. So a research problem statement, it is a clear, so in a research problem statement, when you're making your SOP, it should be clear, concise, and specific statement that describes the issue or problem that the research project addresses. And it is also the summary of the research problem you seek to address. It's just a small part of the paper that you should be concise with, and it's a summary of your research problem that it attracts your audiences. Remember that we have the 5 elements of the SOP, the audiences that will attract your audience or your readers or maybe your panelists, that can attract that your problem or that your title is really good for the study, and it should be conducted for research. And also the research problem statement, it should be contextualize the problem. So that's all for my topics. So to wrap it with the chapter 2, we already discussed, and we discuss the following. The first one, define the research problem and explain its importance, which is my group mates already discussed it earlier. And the second one is distinguish between a research problem and other parts of the research. The third one is criteria of deciding whether a problem can and should be researched. The fourth one is the differences between quantitative and qualitative research problem. The fifth one is the 5 elements of the statement of the problem, or the 5 elements of the SOP. And the last one is the strategies useful in writing statements of the problem. So that's all for our discussions, and hope you find everything spelled in this reporting. That's all. Thank you.